Well, good afternoon. Before I really get started with what I wanted to talk about, I always make this sort of assumption about people who come to listen to me, especially people who come with some amount of regularity, is I'm always assuming that that the people coming to listen to me are not just coming to listen to me. By that I mean that's not the entirety of their spiritual endeavor. It's very important to have a resource within yourself, within your own being, for a kind of stillness. Without this stillness, then everything is just so much more talk, you know? This capacity to find a stillness within yourself, a kind of inner equilibrium, is extraordinarily important. And so if we don't have any real inner equilibrium, any inner recourse or resource of stillness within ourselves, then generally the teaching aspect only goes so deep, only can penetrate so far. Because without that recourse for inward stillness, then we're basically we're just lost or caught in the random movements of our mind and the random movements of how we feel at that particular moment. And so to have that resource of stillness to some degree, in some measure within yourself, is very important. One of the predominant reasons why so many human beings have such a difficult time in their life with suffering of various kinds is because most human beings don't have really any recourse inside, no resource to a kind of inner stillness. The only thing that's inside is their restless minds and their unpredictable emotional states, you know? And so just this one simple thing, not that you try to be still all the time or you try to maintain a certain state all the time, but that you actually have some resource, have some way of touching inside to a quality of stillness and quiet. So there's certain assumptions that I had made a long time ago. You know how you make assumptions without even knowing that you're making assumptions? And I'd made this assumption that sort of the basics, the foundational aspects of this whole teaching were, you know, very well understood by the people who come to see me or listen to talks, or of course now someone can get to know you really well just by watching YouTube, or whatever recourse to some virtual version of yourself. But over time what I realized is, so I thought everybody sort of, people understand what the foundation of the teaching is. What I realized some time ago is that many people didn't actually know what the real foundational aspects of the teaching were. And I mean people that had been around me for years. And so what that told me is I needed to make that much more clear. I didn't see that as a weakness in the people coming to hear me as so much as that I wasn't communicating something as clear as was necessary. Hence, for most of you in this audience that have come here before or are on our mailing list, you probably received the book around the first of the year that we sent out. We gave away, I don't know, 17,000 of those or something we sent out to everybody in the United States. It was on our mailing list. So most of you have that newest book, The Way of Liberation. If you don't have it, you can go to the website. You can download it for free as a PDF. You can also buy the actual book if you want something to hold and touch. But that's the foundational aspects of the teaching. And so I just want to reiterate before we really continue that to have that place of stillness within yourself is extraordinarily important. Like I said, because otherwise it's very easy for a teaching to become just more talk or more philosophy that you sort of believe or you don't believe, or you debate whether it's useful or useless, or all the kinds of silly things that, you know, we human beings waste our time on. To say nothing of the fact that just as a human being walking around in life, if we have no recourse to a kind of inner stillness, then we're just getting buffeted around by life all the time. You know, when situations are good, then life's good. When situations are bad, then life's bad. You know, when your fortune goes up, you're happy. When fortune goes down, you're unhappy. When you meet a new lover, you're ecstatic. When you lose another lover, you're depressed. You know, it's this sort of wave of what the Buddha called unsatisfactoriness. I always thought that was a sneaky, sort of mild way of putting it, you know, that there's a sense of unsatisfactoriness, you know, about life. You know, it's kind of, I think for a lot of people it cuts a lot deeper than a mild sense of unsatisfactoriness. But, of course, he meant it to be something much more than that. In Zen, there's this old saying that the whole idea of spiritual life is to clarify the great issues of birth, life, and death. If someone who's totally clarified the issues of birth, life, and death is a free being. They're a being that has not clarified birth, life, and death is not a free being. They're being dragged around by birth, life, and death. You know? And that gives a very direct orientation to one's spiritual life.